Hope is kind of an underlying philosophy of the whole project, which is this confluence of space and time. And that human beings, there is a kind of a voice that I try to give, the vox humana, which is suspended between space and time. It belongs to both, but in essence to neither. The early, the medievalists had this, or I should say the Renaissance composers, medievalists not so much, but the Renaissance composers had this notion of, they had musica mondana, which is the music of the spheres, something eternal, something that is, kind of going on whether we know it or not all the time. They had the musica humana, which is our individual human expression that is added to that. And then there is a third music that arises as a confluence of the two. And that is the musica poetica. And that's what I'm interested in. That's where I want to go as a composer. That's what I'm interested in my explorations now of early music. So that's what I'm working on, I think, as a very broad palette for my compositional activities.
Wait, do you like the work of, well, the main composer is not alive anymore, but the work that Popol Vuh did for the movies of Werner Herzog?
Those were marvelous. Yeah,
very good. Yeah, like I have been working with NTPO, a couple of them, and very good music.
Really, I experienced those recordings when they first came out, and
that's right.
I found them ear-opening. I found them refreshing. It's like, okay, here is something new and vital. Yeah, marvelous stuff. Love it.
Absolutely. All right, let's start talking a little bit about the album. So you have released 10 sort of album, and then this is your sixth with Spotted Peccary, right? Which is this album, Chronology. I question what I noticed that in some cases you don't know how the correct word. Try to connect the C with the H, like a tilde on top, in some words.
That's a design choice. Daniel Pipitone came up with that. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I don't know. It seems to express it in a font. It's almost providing a kind of internal connection, which I love. Daniel is a genius. He designed this.
Very, very smart.
Cover. I love his work. Everything he has done for me. He's done all of my albums with Spotted Peccary, and he listens very carefully to the music and before he begins any design process. And he has there's a lot of back and forth. So I appreciate everything he's done. This latest one might be his best for me.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful. Do you like now? You mentioned space-time. Do you think that the reality that we sense, our senses, so to speak, is what it is, or you think it's kind of an illusion that?
I think we are prey to all kinds of illusion, and beginning with the illusion of the self. I honestly, as a philosopher and also as a long-term meditator, have the philosophical belief and the experience that the self is a kind of a necessary fiction for life, but there is no entity that is, there is no ghost in the machine. There is no soul riding in the body. We are a phenomenon. We are a phenomenon like all other phenomena, things that appear out of nature and have their, are affected by cause and effect and then disappear. So actually, it brings to mind one of the second track on the album called Mind's Eye.
Mind's Eye, yeah.
very specifically with that track, I was reflecting on this epistemological illusion that we have of the self and the way in which the mind attempts to keep regenerating itself, telling stories to itself about its self-existence, false stories. Perceptions of our perceptions of reality, well, it's very difficult. We have no way to check whether they are in some way corresponding to, as Kant would call it, things in themselves, das Ding an sich. But I don't think that the world is so limited that our five senses are capturing things as they are. I think that we have this evolutionarily developed, sort of equipment that has been useful to our survival. And that includes the self, that is part of that. But are these things real in any fundamental transcendent sense? I don't believe so. No.
Where do you think consciousness come from then? It is here, or it is somewhere out there, and we kind of communicate via Wi-Fi, if you will. What do you think?
I would say that I probably follow the view that I'm primarily a materialist. I do not believe in a spiritual world, a separate world, an extra world layered on top of this one.
Yeah.
I think that consciousness is an emergent property. This marvelous brains we carry around with us, these 2.5 pounds. It's the most complex phenomenon that we know of. We look around and we study. It's the most complex thing we know of. And exactly how, these 100 billion neurons through their trillions of neural connections, how they engender and create consciousness, that is a problem of such difficulty, I doubt that anyone will ever be able to solve it. But it is interesting that neuroscience is exploring these things as we speak, and I think shedding some light on it. So I believe consciousness is an emergent property of complexity.
Yeah, as a materialist, you don't believe like life after death, or in between life, or
No.
remote viewing, or lucid dreaming, and that kind of stuff.
Lucid dreaming is a phenomenon, and I have lucid dreams. But I don't think one should draw any kind of philosophical conclusions from the experience of lucid dream. No, I'm in a funny position because my music gets often categorized in the New Age category.
Yeah.
But I am not in any way a New Age thinker. I don't subscribe to any New Age philosophy. I did spend many years in Zen Buddhism in training. Yep. But I have to say that I have never subscribed to some of their basic philosophical tenets. I don't believe there is any law of karma. I think it's a layer that's placed on things. I don't believe in any kind of metempsychosis, reincarnation, rebirth. No. Everything that we have, everything that we are, everything that is us is right here. And when the brain dies, everything that the self disappears. I know why people are so anxious to want to imagine that they will continue. There's a great book by Ernest Becker called The Denial of Death, which I have recommended to so many people. And Becker says, you can look at our whole society, our whole culture, everything in all the cultures of the world as expressions of a denial of death. We are so afraid of cessation that we will create any number of ideas, illusions, myths, philosophies, religions in order to try to dispel that fear. But at the basis of it is the fear of death. And, to me, the best answer to all of this is art. Art does not say that this is reality. I use all kinds of things that are inspired by philosophers and, even religious metaphors and myths, but it's all metaphor. And expressing these things in some kind of form that can be shared with others is, I suppose, that is my expression of my response to this fear of death. So that's a short answer to what could be a very long discussion.
Yeah. But as human being, right? As human being, I suppose we all look at, or I hope everybody look in the mirror, see if they're a good parent, good husband, good, decent humans in the world, whatever
Yes.
that means, whether you're Catholic or Jewish or this, take advantage of people, you don't take advantage of people. And we see music, right? An art, and go to be seen, and opera and all that stuff. I get emotional, we cry, fear. And then music allow us to, I suppose, express our fears and emotion, look within ourselves, and see how beautiful this world is, and enjoy a play, enjoy an opera, enjoy you kind of music, electronic music, and so forth. People that do yoga and then they do meditation and so forth. It's a beautiful thing that that music and art and plays and poetry exists, right? In a way to kind of look within ourselves, I suppose, right? I'm from Chile, I told you, right? So who wouldn't like, for example, Pablo Neruda, right? He write about love.
Oh, yeah.
Or like, I don't know, La Traviata, to say something. Or who wouldn't like, Popol Vuh, Klaus Schulze, Tangerine Dream, and all this great music. It's a beautiful thing, man,
Yeah, I was just going to add that in addition to expression, music, because it only happens while it plays. It's an art form that only exists in real time. The piece is only there while you're hearing it. Then, poof, it has this quality the Italians called sfumato. It goes up in smoke. And music to me is a constant reminder of transience, the transience of life, the effervescence of life. And in that there's a bit of melancholy, but there's also great beauty in that. Michelangelo was one who spoke a lot about sfumato and put it in his painting. Also Da Vinci maybe even more. Even though what he created, has persisted, here for centuries, his expression and his ideas also include these very transient elements. And it's one thing that did attract me initially to ambient music, is that there are plenty of opportunities to express this sfumato, this kind of things just vanishing into thin air. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, let's talk a little bit about the album. That I like all of them, of course, but the one that were very appealing to me is Unwinding the Dream and The Ghost in the Machine. Those are beautiful pieces, man. How long does it take for you to write something like this? And what's the process? You wake up in the morning and say, I want to spend 2 hours in music, or you live your day-to-day life, and then you're in the supermarket or calling a friend or whatever, and then ideas come to your head, or you're driving and you say, man, I like that 20 seconds or 15 of a commercial. I want to capture that and then start working. What's the process for you to write in this, which is this a masterpiece, man?
Thank you. Gosh. I have to say that I have no monolithic process. I can't describe how it works for every single piece. I think there's quite a few different processes. But I will say that quite often the concept for a piece may emerge very quickly, and I try to sketch it out very fast. I try to produce something that I can then use as a canvas for the painting. And it's important to me to distinguish the parts of the creative process, which I might call first the inspiration. Okay, that is the part that needs to run unedited, and it's more improvisational. Here is where I allow my mind free play. I don't worry about structure. I don't worry about wrong notes. I don't worry about anything. I just sort of put it out there. And then there is a second part, which is actually the most time consuming part. That doesn't take much time in the overall genesis of a piece. But what you might call the structuring, the editing, I spend tons of time on mixing. Mixing is one of those fine arts that I think I will never fully master, but it is for this type of music so essential to revealing the right emphasis, also the detail. If I often have up to 50 or more tracks in a multi-track recording, and some of them are almost subliminal. They're hardly even noticeable to a listener, but they're there, they're present. Others that are things that I want to bring into focus, yes, of course, but also manipulating not only things like the relative volume of tracks, but their spatial placement. If you listen to my recordings with headphones, I think you get the full sense of that immersiveness. That there are lots of parts that move in the aural space, in the stereophonic space. I'm using this wonderful illusion that we have of three-dimensionality with just the two ears. I have to also say that in this most recent project, that the mastering by Howard Givens emphasized those aspects and the spatial qualities. He gave it even greater a greater sense of spaciousness, and sometimes you can hear sounds way back behind your head. Some are low, some are high. He helped emphasize the full panorama of the sound. And so, boy, when I got those masters back, I was thrilled to see how beautifully he emphasized those things that I wanted in the mix. So mixing to me is actually a musical activity. It is as important as as the notes, as the instruments, as the harmonies. It's something in this type of music, at least, that I think is very critical.
Right. So you were saying, but you at home you have a sort of console studio where you can compose mix, arrange, fix, arrange, and eventually you say to your head, okay, it's good enough. I have to spend 8 months here. Yeah, I can work another month and add probably one more percent. Okay, let's send to Howard, and then Howard take it from there and add depth, if you will, like adding like a different dimension, if you will, to it. Now
No, I'm a perfectionist. I probably spend more time on this than I would like to have to spend.
Yeah.
And also, I've over these period of years. Now, Chronotope Project is 12 years old, but I've been doing electronic music for 40 years.
Yeah.
If I reach back to early cassette releases, there has been a curve of growth in both what I can hear, what I can notice, and in my ability to manipulate this. It was one reason that on this release, Chronology, I really felt compelled to go back to some earlier tracks and to give them the kind of treatment that I now have the capability of providing. Things that I was listening back to them dissatisfied with the final treatment, and thinking, well, in music, in recorded music, there are second chances. And I wanted to afford myself that. In that way, this album is a kind of summing up of a bunch of work. I honestly don't know what's next, but I wanted to kind of pull something together from past work and from present work that represents my current compositional state of mind and state of affairs.
Yeah. Do you go back to kind of, I don't know, this CD has 10 tracks, right? But let's say if you have recorded 20 and then you have picked the top 20, the top 10 according to you, do you kind of go back to the other 10 down the road and kind of, or previous album, trying to recycle and change it and use it down the road for whatever? It can be, part 2 or part 3 or whatever.
It could be. There are other pieces that might benefit from reworking, possibly. But I tend to make something and then forget about it mostly.
Yeah.
I'm much more interested in what my current, musical project happens to be. So there could be a chronology too. For example, I could revisit some other tracks. I have no idea. That's a good question.
I think some of this track could be, I don't know, somebody in the sort of writing music or a soundtrack for a movie could use some of this. Some of the track for an opening scene or somebody writing film music for a new film or a sound score, or can be used, I think.
If somebody wanted to license it, I'd be thrilled for that purpose. I at one point I thought, film might be a viable kind of medium for me. But the way the film industry is really, it is so constituted that the composer, if somebody is engaged as a composer, they are only brought in at the very end.
Correct. Yeah.
And they have a very short window to compose, record, and mix those tracks. I'm not sure that I would be able to meet the kind of deadlines that would be present. I think that would be uncomfortable for me. Part of what's joyful to me in this project that I have now is that there's no pressure. I have no deadlines for anything. Even Spotted Peccary, they say, I have a contract for a certain number of albums, and they don't have a deadline. They don't promote a deadline for any of these. It's like, well, whenever that project is ready,
Right.
send it to us and we'll look at it. So I love that. That feels much more congenial to my period of life.
You say something very important. I have interviewed other film composer, and like you say, well, first of all, let's say the budget is, I don't know, $10 million to make a movie, just to put a number there. The music is only, the budget allocated for music is only like 2-3%, and the time is only like 4 weeks, right? So, as opposed to music being an integral part and being written as you halfway, not at the end, right? So you go back and forth, I suppose, in my imaginary world, going back with the director back and forth, okay, this is 50%, the idea of the film is like this, start composing, so you could see what kind of the movie or what the film is about after you're shooting the film, instead of you at the end composing, okay, that's the end product. You're not part of the movie creator, you're part of just put the soundtrack for this, and then a filmmaker will take your music and then 10 seconds here, 3 seconds record, seconds there, and then it's weird that the way that the film industry works, because like we thought music is so important to me, so I found it strange that only that they receive 2 or 3%, and then you do everything at the end, right? So
yes,
and you're under pressure. Hey, you need to deliver that by November 1st, no later. November 1st. So do whatever you need to do to make it happen, right?
Part of the problem too for me, Claudio, is that music to me has such a different pace than things like text. I have written songs, and when art songs, pretty much, and there you must, the text generally cannot be drawn out so long.
Right.
But you have to develop the emotional curve to the story at the same pace. That's very challenging. Now with film, I think that it's even more challenging because scenes are very fast these days. The edits are so quick. I remember in earlier days of film, not that long ago, where scenes were longer. Now and I'm sure someone studied it, but they're a lot shorter. Maybe it's because people have less of an attention span. I don't know.
Yeah.
It also means that musical, motivic things that are offered in the thing have to be developed and have to express themselves very quickly. And I'm not sure that's very congenial to my style of music. But if somebody wanted to try to engage me, it might be a fun thing to
Absolutely.
I don't know.
It's I noticed that you I don't know if your music is on Spotify now, but at least it is in Bandcamp. Do people buy physical thing or the MP3 file, or is kind of a little bit of money that can be made on a monthly basis or a weekly basis for your music producer in order to kind of recover your investment a little bit, if you?
Well, it's not something I worry about or think about that much, honestly. T.S. Eliot said to the poet, your business is to create the poem. The rest is none of your business.
Absolutely, man.
I do like that. Now, that said, I have to say that, yes, you can look at the statistics. People do not buy the physical media to the extent. Now, there are collectors like yourself,
like myself,
actually want to have the physical, media in hand and to enjoy the whole thing. As you said, opening the CD, looking at the artwork, reading the liner notes. That has been steadily eroded over the years. And some of these streaming platforms like Spotify, okay, you can find all this wonderful music. Well, they pay fractions, sometimes fractions of a penny,
Correct. Yeah.
for a stream, and it's not. I don't find that particularly fair to artists,
Absolutely. Yeah.
or respectful to artists. But it's a different day and age, and who knows whether physical media will come back into vogue. I sort of doubt it, but it would be nice. Now, for example, people who like records, and there has been a resurgence of interest in vinyl. As far, none of my work has been released on vinyl at this point, but there is a subset of music, listeners who they're vinyl collectors. They have there's something about that, and I get that. I really do get that.
Yeah. I have a lot of vinyl, and I go to during the weekends or sometimes during the week to go and buy new music, and there's hundreds also of collectors that like buying vinyl, right? And CDs nowadays, many new cars or cars that were manufactured in the last, 5 years, they don't have a CD player to begin with, which for me kind of foolish, right? So if I have the money to buy a brand new car, the first thing I will ask them, I will buy your car, but you need to put a CD player. That's your problem.
Right.
I'm a music guy. Otherwise, I'm not treating the car. Or the house, or I have I don't know. I have kind of expensive stereos that I imported from Japan and so forth, and I have a CD player. I have except the bathrooms, I have equipment in every room. So whether I go for the second floor or third floor and the living room, and I need to have my Blu-ray, my CD, my vinyl, and stereo. That's my life. That right. Other people like other stuff. So it's kind of it's part, right. Yeah, then again, right. So musician and artists, they need to adapt, right? Society, well, this is the internet. People don't like to buy things anymore. Streaming, you go to a URL for your phone or for a device. Well, the music is there. Just click, enter Spotify, Bandcamp, and listen to stuff for free, right? We need to adapt in society, right? New technical revolution are coming forward, and now maybe with AI, and there will not be any musicians anymore. Some robot, you would put a little bit of input, keyboard play, and dark music environment for a horror movie. 20 seconds later, the engine. Oh, that's what you mean?
That's farther along now than you would imagine. It's so far removed from my life and my practice and my interest. I think that's lamentable.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine it. But and I think too, there are some forms of music that are sort of disposable, that for which the AI is maybe ideally suited. Listen these days to the pop songs that you would hear on the radio.
Yeah.
There's very little variety. There are a handful, a few formula that they all sort of fit. Now that was not true in the heyday of kind of album rock music, where there was, tons of variety and creativity, and songs were very distinct. Now I don't listen to pop music anymore. I can't. It doesn't interest me in the least, and life is short. I am going back as a listener myself now, not just a few years, but centuries. And I am finding my greatest joy and interest in music that's 300-400 years old.
Wow.
in particular, the Renaissance polyphony is something that, as a listener and as a composer and as a player, just floats my boat. It gives me everything. That's why I'm so eager to learn the gamba. I want to play in a viol consort, and play some of these great English composers, William Byrd and John Dowland and Orlando Lassi, and just these, because the music is not only just beautiful. I mean, it has an eternal quality to it, but it's conversational. All the parts are integrally connected, and it's this constant polyphonic conversation. That is not the way most people that's not what most people want to hear these days, honestly. It takes some exposure and some training to be even interested in this, I think. But that's where my ear is.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. And the last question, Jeffrey, feel free to elaborate or about your Bandcamp site and mention Spotted Peccary and where people can buy your music and get exposed to your work, which is fascinating, and buy the physical thing. As you say, I like physical things. And this is the great album, man. Very
thank
good.
you
Very,
so
very
much,
good.
Claudio. That means a lot coming from you. I know you listen to a lot.
I have a listen. A lot of. I buy on a monthly basis. I don't know, at least 50 or 100 either vinyl Blu-ray. So I spend a lot of money. So I listen on a daily basis, at least 2 hours of music a day for the last 55 years. So,
Spotted Peccary does a great job with distribution. The album is available virtually everywhere. I mean, all of the streaming platforms have it. If people want to sample or listen that way. Although I hope that they don't just snack.
Buy the thing, right?
I hope that they will, elect to have the full banquet of the music. And I suggest if people want the physical CD, go to spottedpeccary.com. They often have wonderful sales on albums. They want to get the music out there, but I know it's at Walmart. There are so many places where they've distributed this. But if anyone wants to just Google Chronotope Project, all of my albums will come up quickly, and they're widely available.
Yeah, I will put the links of your Bandcamp and the link of Spotted Peccary as well on the.
Very good. Yeah.
On the when I upload the interview to my YouTube channel for people to buy the music, because it is great. So this one of these records that you want us to see that you need to have. Where you're doing meditation, running, jogging, breathing, or listen to music in the background, whatever. You need to have this album. It was very nice talking to you, Jeffrey.
It's been a pleasure, Claudio. Yeah, thank you for what you do.
Oh, no problem. Yes. Well, thank you. Well, thank you for the composer, right? Otherwise, I will have a miserable life if I was going deaf or something, because I will go crazy if I couldn't listen to music, man. So hopefully, God can keep me alive for a long period of time and keep my ears intact.
Indeed.
So it was very nice talking to you. Good luck to you.
Likewise. Take care.
Thank you very much.